Hello and welcome to a EU4 video about idea groups. Now, pretty much throughout the game all technology remains the same, and really the big difference between the different games that you play as far as the build of your nation is going to kind of be based more around idea groups. So it's a pretty important thing, and you certainly wouldn't want to be selecting a lot of bad ones. So without any further ado, these are the 5 idea groups that you probably don't want to grab in any situation. Let's begin. First, number 5, we have espionage ideas. Espionage ideas is more about just kind of trolling your enemies a little bit. And this is a video for single player. Espionage, may be a little more useful in multiplayer when going to war with a player-controlled nation may not be a good idea. Now, the problem with espionage ideas used to be that it was all about espionage, but they kind of buffed it a little bit by giving it some different, focuses that it has. So there's some not so bad ideas in this idea group. First of all, efficient spy network construction. Advisor costs, though minus 10%. Advisors can get expensive, and that's not a bad idea. Number 2, diplomats +1. That's okay. Helps you get more, relationships. Better your relationships and whatnot. Not too bad. Next we have 5, cost to fabricate claims. That's not so bad. You don't have to work as long to fabricate claims. You can do it a lot faster. And a pretty good one in this group is rebel support efficiency. This makes it where if there's a nation that's just really big and has good allies and you don't really want to, mess with them too much, you can just support rebellions, and if they try to expand too quickly, you can make it hard for them to do so, basically. But like I said, it's still not that great. And it would be higher up in this list if it wasn't buffed recently. Well, next we're going to move on to number 4. We have aristocratic ideas. There are some okay ideas here. If we look at number 1, cavalry cost minus 10%, cavalry combat efficiency plus 10%. If you went ahead and went quality, you'd already have the cavalry combat ability. The cavalry can be kind of expensive, so that's not really such a bad thing. Like I said, quantity gives you a 10% regiment cost overall. So, and land maintenance modifier. So it's a much better idea, but this was not too bad. 3, national manpower plus 25%. Like I said, quality's already got double that, but it's not bad. I mean, manpower certainly becomes an issue a lot for me because I play rather aggressively, and it's a pretty decent idea. And number 7, the military technology costs minus 10%. It's not too bad. I mean, I like to stay ahead in military technology. I know a lot of players like to, The bad ones here is number 2, hostile core creation on us plus 50%. That may make enemies not want to declare war on you as much or fabricate claims on you as much. But I never really have that problem of enemies taking my territory. If you do, you may want to do something like boost up your military instead of trying to make it harder for them to keep your land. The income plus from vassals is alright, that's not too bad. Number 6, the cost of reducing war exhaustion minus 20%. It's not that great to me. I very rarely pay to reduce war exhaustion. I normally have manpower problems before I have war exhaustion problems, and I have overextension more than war exhaustion. Sometimes I will pay to reduce it, but it's not really that expensive anyways, so it's not really saving you a whole lot. And then we have the last idea of aristocratic, which is leaders without upkeep +1. It's just okay, but remember, land leaders do cost 50 military points per, and that's kind of expensive, so you may not want to have a bunch of them. And if you have if you're playing as like Russia and you're going to have tons of stacks, then maybe that's not a bad idea. Or if you want to get some room for an admiral, that's maybe not such a bad idea. Now we're going to move on to number 3, expansion ideas. Expansion ideas can sometimes, it can be okay, but it seems to me like a lazy mix of exploration and trade. And maybe you just don't want to put that much towards diplomatic, but I think you'd be better off just getting these 2 rather than expansion. 5 is not bad. The extra diplomatic relation, that's pretty good. It just gives you an extra ally that you can have. Not too bad. If you do get expansion ideas, my recommendation is to just get the first 2, maybe the first 3 if you're trying to colonize faster, because you can get the extra colonist, which is nice, and then you can get a merchant to help pay for what that colonist is going to be doing. And at the same time, you can get global settler increase plus 10%, but you'll get double that from exploration. And if you're going to colonize, you kind of need exploration to get explorers. Now, next we're going to move on to naval. I mean, the Navy is the least important part of the game, is how I should put it. Sometimes it can be important, but, I mean, when you think about it, if you don't have a land army at all, you lose, right? If you don't have a Navy at all, well, I mean, you don't blockade the enemy, which is okay, but, I mean, it's not that great. If we take a look, Naval Ideas has some pretty decent ideas if you are looking to try and dominate with your Navy. Maybe if you're playing as, Great Britain or Japan, maybe Denmark, and, navies are rather important. It does have some pretty good ideas within it. Naval Leader Shock +1, Naval Leader Fire +1, Galley Combat efficiency increased, Heavy Ship efficiency increased, morale of navies, and, more durable ships. Okay, if you're trying to get a strong navy, go ahead. Prestige from naval battles, probably my favorite idea of this, just because it actually does something other than just, strengthen your navy. It kind of gives you some prestige back. And then sailor recovery speed, I mean, do you ever really run out of sailors during a war, I mean, the only time I ever run out of sailors is when I just build huge amounts of ships at once, and just kind of wait a little while for them to come back. I mean, you might as well not spend the money anyways. Now, the number 1 worst idea group in EU4 is pretty easily maritime ideas. Used to, I would switch maritime and naval, but I think maritime used to help more with trade, and now neither of them really do. But now I'm putting maritime as number 1. The yearly naval tradition, okay, who cares? It's not that important. Naval or National Sailors modifier, hope they do. Global ship repair, okay, they repair 20% faster, not too bad. The Naval Force Limit modifier is probably the best idea here, just because it gives you more ships, and so you'll, do better in your battles. The ships cost minus 10%. Okay, it's not too bad. Ships are kind of expensive. Land leader maneuver +2. Okay, make your, leaders a little bit faster, but like I said, you're kind of rarely going to have admirals anyways, just because you're going to be filling up your military leaders with land leaders for the most part. The blockade efficiency +50% is not too bad. I mean, you can get a little bit of extra war score by blockading, If you can't completely dominate your enemy, you can get a little bit of extra from it, but they're going to have a lot of naval provinces, and if they have a lot of naval provinces, you're going to be worried more about combat than blockading. And then the last bonus that you get from completing the whole idea group, it's probably, along with the limit modifier, that's probably one of the best, those are like the top 2 you can get. And this one, ships can repair while in coastal sea zones, and it's alright. I mean, if you get into battle with the enemy and you go down to 1% for each ship and they lose and they retreat, at least your navy won't be sitting ducks at 1%. They'll be repairing while they're in the sea zone, and it's alright. It just makes it to where you don't have to think about your navies as much. You know, but if you're getting maritime ideas, you're probably thinking about your navies a lot more. With that said, the ideas in the future are probably going to shift around a little bit. Maybe they'll buff some of these. You know, if they buff maritime to give it more, a little bit of focus on trade at least, you know, then maybe it could be a little bit better, I guess. And naval, maybe if they put some manpower increases, like the press gangs, where you get sailor recovery speed. Maybe you get land recovery speed too, and then national sailors modifier on maritime ideas. Maybe you get, you know, manpower modifier as well. But you know, it probably won't end up changing. They'll probably remain the worst ideas you could grab. Anyways, thank you for watching. Go ahead and comment, like, and subscribe.